Howdy everybody and welcome back to the Saint Willy channel once again. And I'm sure you're all just like me. You're a fan of cartoons, maybe some cute little woodland critters, and maybe some gore and violence mixed in with it. No, who am I kidding? We're talking about Happy Tree Friends! La, 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 la. Yes, Happy Tree Friends is a cartoon series that traumatized many a Gen Z, myself included, so I'm sure it needs no introduction. But today we're specifically talking about a viewer-requested fan-made series called Happytreefriendsamnesia by Sebastian Rodriguez, and this series is huge and wildly popular. It was back in the olden times of 2018, and I have no idea how I've never heard about this until just now. It's insane how popular this thing was. 20 million views in the first entry alone. This series was requested as a birthday gift from a fan named Andrew, so Andrew, if you're watching this, happy birthday. I figured this video is a pretty good birthday present. I considered getting into the birthday entertainment industry, maybe as like a magician, as a clown. But I feel like I would always show up to those events smelling like Evan Williams and B.O., so I figured making a YouTube video on cartoons would be more respectable. Shout out to all my birthday clown guys and gals. Thank you for your service. But anyway, moving on, Sebastian Rodriguez hasn't uploaded a video to his main channel in a few years, but he left behind a legacy of Happy Tree Friends animations that we will be talking about today. Now, the best way I can describe this series is, imagine the old school, like 2010 YouTube AMVs, those anime music videos of like Dragon Ball or Naruto fights or whatever, and it'd be some real white boy angst playlist music overlaying it, like 3 Days Grace or like Linkin Park or like something, because going over this series, just going through it, there is a lot and lots of copyrighted music, so I will be doing my best to kind of edit around that. And also, per normal for Happy Tree Friends, there's gonna be some animated gore, okay? That's just the par for the course for this. And I'm gonna do my best to remember all the character names for Happy Tree Friends. I might mess up some here or there, so don't crucify me, please. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the series opens overlooking the skyline of the Happy Tree Friends universe when the sky begins to crack open and a black void laser beam shoots down and starts decimating the world of Happy Tree Friends. I guess this would be like their 9/11, I guess. And throughout the whole video, it's playing the song With My Mind by Cold, and I 1000% back in the day had this song downloaded like on an MP3 player, like a little black MP3 player I had that I would listen to on the school bus, because I remember this was one of like the only like 100 songs I think I could get to fit on it. But anyway, so we see shot out from this black void is whatever Happy Tree Friends character this is. I don't know if this is like an original character. So once he wakes up after being shot out of this like black void, he starts to notice that he's almost like infected or possessed by some sort of unknown black ooze that's like leaking out of his eyes. And the whole thing reminds me of the old creepypasta days, like Zalgo infection, where they basically would take like a character and give him like those red, like blackened eyes and like make him look all demonic and everything. Like the whole thing reminds me of that. So this is almost like a Zalgo, like creepypasta infection. So Cuddles walks over to the guy and tries to see if he's okay, as Cuddles would, and then the guy jumps up and pulls like a Mortal Kombat Liu Kang move and rips his heart out of his chest, and then anime move slaps it to the ground as a way to like complete a spell and infect all the other Happy Tree Friends characters that were in the vicinity, and then unleashes them like a creepypasta horde onto the other characters. So during the attack of all the other characters, Splendid drops down like a superhero, and it's a real anime JoJo's Bizarre Adventure moment where the leather jacket main bad guy turns around like Dio. He's like, "Oh, so you're approaching me?" And it's like he pulls out a knife and like does a little to his wrist, and then like summons a inverted clone of Splendid, and they start Dragon Ball Z fighting like in the air. Like, you see what I mean? This whole thing is like one of those kind of cringe like anime like music videos, because that's kind of like what it feels to me. Anyway, I should be nicer. The animation is actually really well done. It's just kind of And I'm riffing, I'm having fun, all right? Like, it gets even crazier. They start flying through the air and continuing their Dragon Ball fight. And then the main bad guy starts like Super Saiyan charging and floating up in the air while summoning Cole McGrath, evil, infamous red and black lightning. And then, like, he flicks like a finger and starts summoning these like Sauron towers to start infecting more of the Happy Tree Friends characters. And then they have a full-on like Kamehameha final flash locked in laser battle. And then like Splendid has Superman heat vision. He starts shooting out of his eyes, and like, oh my god. Anyway, so Splendid manages to narrowly beat him, and just when you think he's about to finish the leather jacket squirrel off, he starts to Uno reverse the infection onto him, and Splendid gets infected and taken over by like the creepypasta infection, which is what I'm going to be calling it from now on. Just it's the creepypasta infection. So I guess it's kind of like an infection AU before infection AUs in a way, because this is from like 2018. So the next entry starts off panning over this post-apocalyptic Happy Tree Friends world, and it shows Lumpy like sitting at the bar, drinking, doing shots of whiskey, and he has a revolver in front of him, and he's trying to get the courage to, Russian roulette. And you notice that the reason he's trying to Squidward sewer slide himself is because he is partially infected, because one of his eyes is like creepypasta black and red. And right before he's about to do it, you have someone walk in holding a baby, and they're bleeding out, and it's all dramatic, and they kind of like pass out and keel over dead. And honestly, in a very epic moment, admittingly, right when he's about to pull a trigger, he points it at the guy who's the infected guy who walked in, and then blows his head off. Okay, in a real like Rick Grimes from The Walking Dead moment where he goes like, boom! It was actually kind of sick. I cheered. I clapped. Even. So Lumpy, being the Giga Chad that he is, decides to take it upon himself and save the baby. And he narrowly closes the door before more infected can barge in, and then scurries out the back. And as he's running away with the baby, he noticed that down an alleyway, Lifty is running away from an infected before he gets his head caved in by a damn boulder, which is good. I hate that little shit. Unfortunately, though, Lumpy's infection is spreading throughout his body, and even more unfortunately, he's noticed by an infected Tuffles, who proceeds to slice off one of his antlers, and this whole sequence is really epic, by the way. And then he grabs a fire extinguisher and blocks the next butcher knife slice from Tuffles, and it explodes, and he manages to run away and tries to make it to this like FEMA camp for safety and to save the baby, because I mean Lumpy knows he's dead. I mean, he's infected. He knows he's a goner. Lumpy then collapses and is about to give in to his infection as it takes over his entire body, makes its way to his eye, his heart. But then we see a little glimmer of hope as his sheer willpower and determination to save that baby starts pumping blood back into that blackened heart of his, and he takes a giant axe and kills the infected Tuffles and infected crowd chasing him. And then, oddly, he takes the intestines of Tuffles and like wraps it together like a slingshot, and then uses like a grappling hook to the helicopter that's taking off from like the FEMA camp. And in this last act, as a non-infected Happy Tree Friends character, gives the baby over and sets it down in the helicopter, and then just lets go and falls to the ground, now being fully infected, takes the axe and walks away and to join the rest of his infected brethren. And honestly, I was like, this entry was like way cooler than the last one, in my humble opinion. Woody. In the next entry, the plot thickens even more. We see an infected Splendid consolidating his power and lording over his infected zombie army in one of the Sauron towers, until Flaky and Flippy show up. However, they don't seem to be the normal Flaky and Flippy. They seem to have powers, almost like they're infected themselves, but they somehow manage to control it. Interesting. So Flaky and Flippy get to work, and they just start demolishing all of the infected, and like they don't even stand a chance. Okay, this is like just straight up like a Madness combat fight scene where it's like 2 versus like 20, and it's not even close. That's right, I just referenced Madness Combat, elite ball knowledge. Anyone else remember that? But Splendid, watching over all this fighting like he's Shao Kahn, decides to send in the big guns. And an infected Lumpy from the previous entry drops down from the tower and starts to get to work. And dude, Lumpy starts saucing them up, dude. Flaky and Flippy don't stand a chance. Like, he basically is about to kill Flippy as Flaky is kind of like going through some weird pause and lack of control with her powers until Flippy pulls a Sergeant Frank Woods from the first Black Ops game and puts that Vietnam vet experience to use and pulls the pin to a bunch of grenades he has strapped to his chest. And it's, my God, it's so epic. And he explodes and sacrifices himself to kill Lumpy. That frankly pisses Splendid off, and he leaps down from his tower and does like a one-punch-man leap and decks Flaky right in the face, dude. However, Flaky seems to have a few tricks up her sleeve and makes a comeback and does a real Sonic the Hedgehog ball charge and knocks Splendid into a tree before grabbing Flippy's dog tags and then finishing Splendid off with a giant combat knife. And honestly, it's pretty epic and sad. She even sheds a tear. And you would think that the evil has been defeated, right? I mean, Splendid was possessed by the main force starting this infection, and he's been defeated. So everything should be all, hunky-dory. Unless... Hold it right there. What the hell are you wearing? It's so bland and boring! Wouldn't you like your fit to represent some of your favorite cult classics and underappreciated media? Then you should check out Cult of Cult! Cult of Cult has all sorts of merchandise to satisfy your niche, with my personal favorite being their horror lineup. Check out this Hellraiser one. Ooh, sweet suffering. Or this Evil Dead 2 shirt. Ha, groovy. But if horror's not your thing, they got all sorts of stuff like sci-fi or even country music with my favorite rambling man, Waylon Jennings. Yeah! And that's not even mentioning all their hats and their posters and their bumper stickers. Whoo doggy. So if any of this stuff catches your eye, be sure to go to cultofcult.com and use code saintwilly at checkout for 10% off your first order. That's code saintwilly at checkout, 10% off your first order. 10%, they give that stuff to veterans, and I'm just giving it to you for free. Come on now. Come on now. Thank you to Cult of Cult for sponsoring whatever it is I happen to be talking about today. So, without further ado, back to the video. Alright, so the next part opens in the immediate aftermath of Flaky shish kebabbing Splendid, and she passes out and is saved by a mysterious figure and dragged into a laboratory where she's magically fully healed. And the song that plays in this entry is a cover of Believer. And Believer, Believer. The emo middle schoolers are gonna love this one, I guarantee it. So it's revealed that it's actually Sniffles' lab, and he appears to be infected. However, he's running these strange experiments on the deceased infected Happy Tree Friends characters and is almost trying to DNA splice them together. And Flaky tries to attack him initially until she's captured by him and agrees to help him recover Lammy for some unknown experimental purpose. Flaky manages to quickly find Lammy, and Flaky is immediately sauced up by Lammy, who's using her wool as kind of Doc Ock tentacles. And just when you think Flaky is about to get KO'd by Lammy, she starts kind of having visions of her pre-infected life and hesitates. But while all that's going on, Flaky manages to whip out her iconic Sonic the Hedgehog little spin move and attack Lammy. Lammy is narrowly subdued by Flaky, and at first I thought Flaky was trying to cure Lammy because she had a syringe and stabs her in the heart with it. But it doesn't cure her, it kills her. Oh yeah, by the way, Mr. Pickles is watching all this go down, and just when you think it's all over, Mr. Pickles, his monocle shatters, and some ram persona of Mr. Pickles comes to life and attacks Flaky. It gives her a Mortal Kombat X-ray move, and you see her her arm bone break, and it's kind of sick. It just when you think the spirit of Mr. Pickles is about to kill Flaky, the ghost of Lammy stops him and hugs him. It's it's okay, Pookie Bear. Kitten, please don't hurt her. That's right. For all you schizophrenic people out there, your imaginary friends, maybe they're real. Maybe their spirit and essence will help you in your time of need. You're an anime character. Yeah, guys, That's totally it. So Flaky manages to limp back to Sniffles' lab, and apparently she got what she needed and got like a sample in the syringe from Lammy, I guess. And we pan over and see that Sniffles is like trying to revive Flippy in like this little Bacta tank. And it's kind of sick. And at the end of the video, we see this experiment bust out of a door, then the video ends, and then we're on to the next entry. I forgot to mention the last video I just talked about, it got 50 million views. Like how? That's like Mr. Beast numbers, man. I don't, whatever, moving on. So on to Legends Never Die. We see I guess Happy Tree Friends military squad, the Happy Tree Friends Navy SEALs, are on a mission to rescue Flippy because apparently his DNA can be used for like a super soldier thing, or maybe he's like a super soldier himself. So anyway, they're going to rescue him from Sniffles' lab. And then we get to a flashback where we see Flaky and Flippy frolicking in the fields, and yay, everything's so cute and happy. But then Flaky snaps back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity. And she's actually still in Sniffles' lab, who is running these weird human experiments on her. I guess Sniffles wasn't really a good guy after all. He kind of had me fooled for a second. But yeah, he's doing like mad scientist experiments. And then does like a close-up of like Sniffles about to put a syringe through Flaky's eyeball, like it's that one scene in Dead Space 2. God, dude, that scene made me cringe in that game, dude. That was like the only time a game like maybe physically cringed, when I had to like control the needle going into Isaac's eye. Anyway, so with the special forces barge in, they manage to save Flippy from his tank, and just when you think everything's going according to plan, Lumpy actually wakes up and goes full John Wick mode on him. Like he's just grabbing them and using people as like bullet shields, like smashing their face in. It's insane, right? But then Flippy gets an adrenaline shot and comes to and wakes up. And just when you're like, okay, it's about to get good, he's going to fight Lumpy. Lumpy goes to another room with one of the special forces guys. And then Flippy tries to like shoot Sniffles, but then Flaky blocks it like she's brainwashed to help Sniffles now. And Flippy walks over to Flaky and he's doing like, stop, Pookie, this isn't you. And like starts grabbing her face, but then she like just kicks him like, get off me, beta. It's just when you think Flippy's about to get finished off, his Jekyll and Hyde alter ego comes out, and him and Flaky just start going at it, man. Blades are clashing. Flippy even gets like an Anakin Skywalker scar through his eye. And just when you think everything's about to go down, then one of them's about to kill each other, they are both electrocuted and then pass out because Sniffles like, all right, enough reindeer games. Let's get this operation going. And just when you think things couldn't get any crazier, the edgelord leather jacket character from the first entry comes back and barges through the wall like he's the Kool-Aid man. And then I'm guessing, just from what I'm piecing together, because there's like no dialogue in this series, is that Sniffles was trying to create his own like rival infected army to rival, the incel leather jackets dude. And so they start fighting each other like with telekinetic powers. And what am I even talking about? What is this series, dude? However, all of Sniffles' gadgets and gizmos do nothing to this incel, and he uses his telekinetic powers, pins up against a wall, and he's like, you can never defeat me, beta, for I am a Sigma male. And then just when you think everything's about to finally conclude, Splendid apparently was also resurrected and bursts through the wall and starts fighting him. And then we get another like Superman or like a Dragon Ball Z fight going on with laser vision, telekinetic powers, rocks being thrown at each other, the works, okay? But wait! Just when you think it couldn't get any crazier, the last remaining Special Forces guy launches a goddamn tactical nuke to the location. Like, it's straight up like out of Modern Warfare 2. Like, a damn nuclear submarine is launching an ICBM to their location. And then the pirate Happy Tree Friend, Russell, starts rising out of the water like his damn Aquaman. And I'm like, dude, what is... This is insane with no dialogue. You're just like witnessing all this happen. It's crazy. So anyway, Russell and his aquatic friends blow up the sub that launched the nuke. And then everyone realizes that, oh wait, I'm about to get blown up. So they try to make a hurry escape as they continue to fight. Sniffles stabs Flaky through the chest. Splendid hole punches the incel dude right through the chest, right through his blackened heart. And then boom, the nuke hits him. But as all this is going on, Flaky has like a little, flashback to, oh, like Flippy and I used to be lovers and we kissed. I don't care. I don't care. However, in the aftermath of the explosion and the fallout, we see that Flippy survived as well as the Sigma male incel. I know it's not like I'm hating on this, but like I said before, the animation is really good. It's just kind of exhausting to watch because I feel like it's very like edgelordy. I don't know. It's kind of exhausting to watch as someone who's like a grown ass man. But anyway, let's keep going. So the next entry, Destiny, Mole versus Disco Bear. We see Mole in his signature turtleneck roll up to a secret lab being escorted by military and armed guards, and he picks up a package in a silver briefcase. And what's in there? I don't know, but it must be important. So as he's leaving, his convoy is attacked by Disco Bear, who knocks it over and then walks away and doesn't look at the exploding car, because we all know cool guys don't look at explosions, obviously. They walk away from them. However, he made one mistake. Mole survived, and upon hearing the glass crunch beneath Disco Bear's feet, he unloads on him. Oh yeah. So anyway, Disco Bear and Mole fight, and that is pretty cool. I mean, like Disco Bear slaps him in the face with his pimp cane, his diamond-studded pimp cane, and then, dude, Mole pulls out straight up Naruto moves, does like no jitsu stuff, and like does like a smoke cloud, and then slices and dices him and stabs him. And just when you think Disco Bear's about to be killed, a bunch of Splinter Cell Happy Tree Friends characters show up. And before he get finished off, he plays like a loud boombox and bursts the eardrums of all the Happy Tree Friends characters nearby, including Mole, and kills them. And he apparently is successful in stealing the silver, briefcase, and brings it to a mysterious group of scientists. And apparently it's revealed that in the briefcase was a vial of Flippy's blood, or DNA. So, ooh, interesting. So the next entry, Ready to Fight, goes back to the main story, and we see Flippy wake up from the aftermath of the nuke and finds Flaky's presumably dead body, and then has a flashback to the beginning of the initial outbreak, the infection. We see how they get their crazy creepypasta powers, and Flippy is able to control his in a weird way, but Flaky cannot. She starts going on a straight crackhead bender and starts randomly attacking pedestrians. It's like, I need Fent. But Flippy manages to subdue her and bring her back to one of the main laboratories where they experiment on her and give her weird dosages to help her control her infection powers. And we even see, I guess, the early stages of the infection where the main laboratory that they're at, Sniffles actually worked there and was working with the Happy Tree Friends military initially before he started doing crazy, Dr. Cortex experiments. We then get a quick recap of all the events of the series so far, and then we cut back to the current time where Flaky is indeed dead, and Flippy is forced to bury her, and in a real epic and sad moment, the sun is setting, and Flippy is about to commit seppuku, but Flippy doesn't want to go out just yet. Instead, he vows vengeance against the greased up leather jacket incel guy. And Flippy does just that. He starts to arm up and prepare himself. He even injects himself with, I don't know, weird symbiote ooze stuff to boost his creepypasta powers. And then he throws Sniffles' body into the pot and just, I guess, blows up the remains of it. It was kind of funny. But as this video ends, we get the feeling that the series might come to an end soon. Who will survive? Will Flippy get his revenge? Will the Sigma male incel leather jacket squirrel finally take over the world? Wittily. Or not. I don't know. Let's continue. Don't ask me that question. I don't know yet. Sorry, I just took a shower and I was drinking Kool-Aid out of my Snoopy cup. Anyway, moving on. So in the entry Fight Back, Mime versus Crow Marmot, we see a full frontal assault from the Happy Tree Friends military against the infected. And this is Desert Storm levels of action, right? There's choppers being shot down, RPGs being shot around, and then right before one of the choppers gets shot down, they manage to drop a secret crate to the ground. That's kind of weird. And then Crow Marmot bursts out of the containment, and he is channeling all of his prehistoric Ugnug rage and starts whipping boulders and chains around and slaughtering all the infected. It's kind of cool. But Mime is there and starts busting out all his best parlor tricks. He even throws daggers at him. He drinks a big jug of what looks like wine, and then uses a jack-in-the-box and a bear trap to trap Marmot into the spot and blows fire at him. It's kind of funny animation you can only really do in animation, in a cartoon, something that doesn't translate as cool in a live action fight. However, all of this doesn't really face Marmot that much, as he's able to blaze right through the fire and grab Mime and just sucker punch him. Mine pulls out a Joker-ass contraption and battery and starts electrocuting Marmot that apparently fries the control chip that's like in his brain that was put into him by the scientists controlling him back in the main lab. And this is real bad news bears for everybody, because with that control chip gone, Marmot just goes rogue and like breaks his arm back into place and starts bouncing around and like to destroy whatever crosses his path before the video ends with some new secret weapon being hinted at. And here we are, the final entry as of today to the Happy Tree Friends Amnesia, and this seems to be the penultimate entry in the entire series, as it's called Hail to the King, and the entire video is playing Hail to the King by Avenged Sevenfold. It's giving real Black Ops Zombies vibes, you know, if you know, you know. A lot of these characters are about to come to a head as we see the incel leather jacket dude powering up and getting ready for more carnage. We see destruction that the infection war is causing in the metropolitan cities in the Happy Tree Friends world. And we see Flippy marching through the wasteland on his quest for vengeance. Oh yeah, we also see glimpses of like Happy Tree Friends, like Dark Brotherhood assassins. At least that's what it looks like for like the second I saw them, but I guess we'll see more in a second. So Flippy's kind of just walking through all this carnage going on, and all of the infected characters are kind of just like ignoring him because, oh my god, he's so edgy and badass. We even see a tree of like Happy Tree Friends characters who were like executed by being hung. They're just dangling in the trees with like little signs put on them, like manipulative and all that. Like, it's, I don't know what that's about, but... And also one funny moment is one of like the Dark Brother looking characters like shoots an RPG at him, and Flippy grabs it and just throws it back at him and blows him up. However, Flippy's progress is halted when he runs into Disco Bear, who's blasting that, you know, supersonic boombox that he has. But Flippy manages to throw a knife at him, run towards the sound, and then stab him through the jukebox and then cut his head off. Like, it's like, my god. However, then it cuts to like some prison complex for some reason, and a bunch of Happy Tree Friends guards start unloading on the prison population in the courtyard, and for some reason the prisoners also have guns. Okay. And they start shooting back at them, and then it cuts to the Dark Brotherhood looking characters who are also at the complex, who are fighting off infected. But while that's going on, it shows like a bomb inside of an armored car that like the Dark Brotherhood guys have, driving across a bridge going I don't know where. And then apparently Russell ran into Flippy and they start battling it out. But then Russell in desperation decides to summon the Kraken. Like literally just the Kraken shows up and starts attacking Flippy. And one of the Kraken's tentacles manages to slam down and like break Flippy's arm off. And in pure rage and adrenaline, Flippy like runs across the tentacle and like grabs a grenade launcher and manages to shoot like this Green Goblin ass bomb next to Russell, and it assumedly explodes and kills him along with the Kraken as Flippy washes ashore to confront the Sigma male incel who started this whole thing. But then the incel, I'm just gonna call him Kyle from now on. I don't know what to call him. I don't know his name. He does a little, yes, come hither if you dare, like a little finger motion towards him, and all the infected clear out of the way and make a path for Flippy as he like narrowly walks towards him. And I notice now that Flippy looks like Guts during the eclipse because he's like missing an arm and just has like a bone shard sticking out of it, and then he's missing an eye. Like he straight up just looks like Guts at this point. And Kyle pulls out his heart. He's like, you want this? You want to stab this? So Flippy in rage like dives towards him, and he's like, stop my telekinetic powers with the knife, but then he just uses his jagged bone shard to stab the heart. And then out of nowhere, Kyle summons like the Grim Reaper and starts trying to drag Flippy to hell with like Ghost Rider chains. What? And at first I thought, oh, Flippy's gonna get out of this. He's gonna face Kyle, but no. Kyle manages to banish Flippy to hell, and he's like, vaya con Dios, beta. And then the portal to hell closes, and Flippy is just screaming in rage, being dragged down to hell with multiple arms. Like, literally just giving God of War, like when Kratos is dragged to Hades, with all the arms kind of like sticking out of the walls. That's basically what happens. And then the entry ends showing a showcase of like Flippy fighting demons in hell. What is what is this series, man? What is this? But before the video ends, we see a little glimpse into Kyle's, I guess, like, inner self, you know, like before he became infected. He's like, oh, I'm sorry for all this. It'll be over soon. And then, you know, the evil possessed Kyle is like, this will be over soon. This is the end. And then the video ends. Wait, no, I lied. There's 2 more entries. There's actually an entry where scientists discover Bio-Nutty, which basically showcases Nutty as a biomechanical monster with a Bane mask. And that one doesn't really pertain to the main story, so I don't really care about that one. I'm going to skip over to the next one. The final entry, as of 2 years ago, that I was able to find, like an actual full entry, is Paint It Black. And basically, it kind of shows, I'm assuming what's a prequel to some of the events before the infection, like, kind of started. And it shows Kyle, like, yes, Kyle, and he's meeting with an angel that's, like, taking on the form of Cuddles. And, like I said, there's not really any dialogue in this series, so it's kind of confusing what's going on. I'm assuming Kyle is, like, a demon, and he, like, makes a deal with, like, this angel, Cuddles, and there's a lot of symbolism with, like, the Tree of Life. And, like, it's honestly kind of confusing because of the lack of dialogue. So I was reading some more of the Happy Tree Friends wiki, and I was able to find out a little bit more about what the series is even really going for. Like, I get the basic premise, but there's a lot of themes being thrown around that I don't really think the creator is putting a lot of thought into each of them. I think he's kind of just trying to see what sticks, like experiment a little bit. But apparently Kyle's real name is Zeba. So Zeba is the one who brings the infection to the Happy Tree Friends universe. And the main groups that are discussed in this post-apocalypse is the government, which is what we've seen with, like, the scientists and everything. The Resistance, which is a group that fights against the infection people and the government. And then you have the Punishers, which are focused on eradicating the infected, even at the cost of innocent lives. So there's a lot of competing factors with this story. And the entity of Zeba seems to be inspired by, I guess, demonic forces and, like, creepypasta characters. Like I said, the whole thing reminds me of Zalgo. And his motivation and intentions aren't really well known or explainable. So upon seeing the last few entries, this is kind of my theory and take from what I've seen of Zeba's motivation. I like calling him Kyle because it's funnier. But anyway, Zeba seems to be like some sort of dark angel or demon who's trying to create a new world, so to speak. And he even spares children from the infection. It takes them to some, like, alternate, like, universe. And we see before he sends Flippy to hell, he, like, takes Flippy's good alter ego and rips it out of him to presumably send him somewhere else. So I guess that kind of gives an idea of Zeba's motivation. It's not really anything concrete, but that's what I was able to kind of gather as what the point of all this was. But that's about all I can give you for the for the story of Zeba. The series is very confusing because I feel like so many things are just thrown in just to look cool, and the characters are just giving super cool and edgy powers just to be cool and have fights, which is fine. It's just that it makes it kind of hard to take it seriously because it's like the creator doesn't really know what they're doing with it. They kind of just do things. And I know I skipped over some of the videos, like the trailers and the teasers and all that, but that's just because I want to get to the main entries of the series. And as of right now, the last teaser or trailer for anything I could have seen was from 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago. And so I don't know if Sebastian is going to be continuing this series or not. I haven't heard any updates from him, at least not on YouTube or anything like that. My thoughts on this. The animation's cool. The story's whack. I mean, it doesn't really make sense or have any coherent themes, so it's kind of all over the place. But the animation is cool. I do respect it for that. And it's kind of fun. You know, it's kind of fun little turn your brain off and just listen to some Happy Tree Friends anime music videos and fight scenes. But I kind of dig it because it feels like an infectionau before infectionaus really became a thing or became popular, I should say. And I don't know. It it was kind of fun. Like I said, just don't take it super seriously. And I think anyone can have a good time watching this, especially if they're fans of Happy Tree Friends, because Happy Tree Friends is a pretty violent show to begin with, so this is no different. It's kind of a struggle to get through because, like, I thought it was kind of goofy, but the animation and the fight scenes kind of kept me going a little bit. So, yeah, it kind of edgelord like cringe, I should say. Like, this whole series just screams like Hot Topic to me, like what a 16-year-old from Hot Topic would think is really cool and edgy, if that makes sense. So I'm not trying to be mean. This is just my opinions on it. I'm sorry for fans of the series. I'm sorry, truly. But there you have it, everyone. That is my take on Happy Tree Friends Amnesia. I hope you all had fun watching that. You might have noticed I'm testing out like a green screen. I kind of just got that, so I'm just kind of playing around with it, you know. I'm experimenting a little bit with my style, you know. But thank you guys so much, as always, for sticking with me to the end. Your support always means the world. And just in case I don't see you, stay safe and have a good one. Goodbye. Man, I really need some more Kool-Aid. Nope, there's nothing left. Nope. This Snoopy cup was like $2 at a Goodwill that I got. It's kind of sick. Well, Woodstock was on here too. He's kind of goated, to be honest.